What is going on now? This is my second time making a video. I had my little buddy in the background was kind of impeding a little bit too much on my stories. So I stopped it and had to do some parenting. So I had the opportunity to buy a portion of a collection. A lot of times you hear collectors say that they bought a collection and you think hundreds of cards, and that's not the case here. This is about 25 to 30 cards, but every single one of them is cards that are right down my alley as far as in my collection. Um, Most of these are cards that I didn't have any autographs of these Hall of Famers in my collection. So we'll get right into it. And this first one being the case, this Lamar Hunt. I did not have a Lamar Hunt autograph in my collection. So um, this was a four-figure deal that I worked on. I'm actually already working on another four-figure deal with this collector. This is a Pete Pujols 1951. A lot of these, and about half of them, are unslabbed and unauthenticated. I tell you that if you're going to buy unslabbed and unauthenticated stuff, you know, that's fine. Just know what you're doing, man. Know what you're looking at. There's so much fake stuff out there, and you can easily getting taken if you don't know what you're doing. And even I've been freaking bamboozled a couple times. But that's the nature of the beast. These 1957 tops are my absolute favorite card in vintage football. I think these things are just incredible. And then I forget what year it was. It was in the early 2000s, I believe. They did a remake of these particular cards, like an archives, if you will. And I think they're so cool, man. I love them. My favorite set in football is the 1959 tops. Let's see. Yeah, here's that remake I was telling y'all about. So, really cool. Next is Tom Fears. So I had a Tom Fears already in the collection, but it was a swell card. Those cards that the NFL Hall of Famers signed by literally the truckload. It was ridiculous the amount of those that are out there. This is a 1951. 1961 Roosevelt Brown. This is my first Force Greg, 1966 Philadelphia. Nick Bentaconte. If you haven't read his story or just YouTube him, like the first 5 or 6 videos that come up on him is about his severe dementia and how it's kind of taken over his life. He played in the league. It was 13 years, I believe, and he had something like 12 concussions. So, I mean, that's almost one a year, which is just terrible. So him and his wife are big time advocate for these new helmets and all that stuff. And it's kind of sad that he's gotten to the point where he kind of just gets lost in his train of thought, kind of on a consistent basis. Next is a 1972 Deacon Jones. He looked like he just got off the hash pipe, man. Really cool to have that. Some more of these 57s. This Joe Perry. Come on. There it is. Lou Creekmore. Crazy Legs Hirsch. This Bob St. Clair, man. If you ever wanted to get an autograph graded, not the card, but the autograph, look at that. Holy smokes, man. Jack Butler. A lot of you current collectors or guys that like all the new stuff may not know this is actually a really tough autograph to get on this card. This is actually Jack Butler's rookie card. One recently sold at an eBay auction for $225. So really happy to have that in the collection. 1950 Doak Walker. Come on. Well, that's I think as good as it's going to get. This one's really cool. This is my second player era Frank Gifford. This is a 1953. Another 1953 Chuck Bernardrick. 1954 Chuck Bernardrick. 1951. That thing is so sweet, man. And then my favorite of the group, and you'll see why because of the autograph, that's this 1957. Look at that thing. Holy smokes. So cool. So damn cool. What's funny, out of all these cards, this is the one card that the collector didn't want to come up off of. You know, a $30 to $50 card, depending on who the buyer is. And the guy did not want to budge off that. So moving on to some more stuff here. It kind of gets better as it goes along. 1950 Bowman, George Connor. 1954 Elroy Hirsch. What are you doing?
Getting up here.
1969 Topps, Gene Hickerson. I didn't have anything of him as far as on a card. I have him on a goal line art card, but Rayfield Wright, and this is with the Hall of Fame inscription as well. So really cool, man. It's funny how some of these guys are kind of tough to find as far as with inscriptions. And this is another one with me, is this Mike Webster. I have 2 or 3 of his autographs, but this was my first one with the Hall of Fame inscription, and it's in blue. The only thing better would have been if he was in a Steelers uniform. Dan Hampton rookie card. He's been signing quite a bit here lately in the past week or so via TTM, but he hadn't been adding his Hall of Fame inscription. Hey, hey, hey. I'm almost done. Shh. This is Kenny Easley. This is his rookie card. Funny thing about Kenny Easley is I don't know if it's happened to you, meaning I'm talking to the TTMers, but I've sent him this card about 4 times, and every time he returns my stuff signed, but it's not my stuff. He exchanges the rookie card for another vintage era card. So I don't know if he's like keystring all of his rookie cards or what. Next is a 1950 Bowman, Bobby Lane. So another autograph that I didn't have anything of his in my collection. A 1958 Topps, Jack Christensen. So cool. And this is the last card that they ever made of him as far as player era. And he passed in 1986. Zoe? I don't know. She's probably hiding from you, man. The absolute, one of the coolest freaking football names ever. This is a 1977 Touchdown Club. Bruiser Kennard. Dude, that's so cool. It's like Buster Posey in baseball. You know, Buster. I love it. Bruiser Kennard. And he actually played in 1938 to 1947. So, you want to talk about a pioneer of the game, man. This is about as old school as it gets. Next is a Bronco Nagorski. And then he passed years and years ago. It was like 1990 or so. I think I was 8 years old. So getting into the last handful here, there's a 1972 Topps Johnny Unitas. And this is actually his last card with the Colts. So he played a crazy long career, and then his last year with the Colts, he went to the Chargers, which I just hate, man. These iconic guys in any sport, you know what I mean, to finish with a team that they're not really known for. Like Emmitt Smith went to the Cardinals, and I wish Jerry Rice would have stayed with the dang 49ers. There's a bunch of them. There's very few of them that left and then did it right. Joe Montana went to the Chiefs. He did it right there. He did pretty damn good while he was there. Peyton Manning, but it's kind of, that's the exception. It's not really the rule. 1955 Topps All-American Autogram. So I had an autograph already, but it was not a player era card. It was like a newer one from hell, I don't know, in the 2000s. So really cool. Another fun fact about these old school cards that you probably noticed by now, a lot of them are signed in pen. They didn't have Sharpies back then. You know, they had markers, but people carried around pens, so that's why a lot of these are signed in pen. This is the last three. 1961 Topps Bart Starr. Come on. Focus for me. There we go. Look at that thing.
Daddy, join the honey.
Just incredible.
Join the honey.
Hang on. I'll find her in a minute.
Look.
And then a 1959 Topps. This is his 4th year card. Really, really iconic. Yeah, I see her. And then the last one. So a lot of y'all, you know, might think these two were kind of the big ones in this collection. To me, it's most definitely not price-wise. It's most definitely not. It'll be this last one. And a lot of y'all are probably going to be like, who in the hell is that guy? This one was almost double of any of these other ones. As far as when the seller sent me the sheet of the breakdown of what he wanted. Gentleman didn't get what he wanted. We came to a damn good price. But yeah, this one set me back a little bit. So in 1953, Bowman, Jim Finks. Come on. Can't talk that card up all that way and then not focus at all. But he was known more for to be like an administrator than anything. I think he played in the league 2 or 3 years, something like that. But he did a lot of his work after his playing days. Hang on. So kind of a fun fact on him is he was up to be the commissioner of the NFL. Him and Paul Tagliabue kind of went nose to nose as far as who was going to be the commissioner, and all the old school dudes wanted him in. And so I forget the exact numbers, but he had to have something like 17 votes. And at the time, there were 6 original owners still there, and all 6 wanted him. And all the newer guys wanted Tagliabue. So all the newer guys abstained their vote. They didn't vote. And so he was basically had 6-0, and you had to have 17. So he didn't get it. And then they had a second vote a couple months later, and they tied. Him and Paul Tagliabue tied 50-50. And so they had to have a third vote. And then they had a third vote a couple months later. And doing my research, it really didn't say what the results were as far as how many votes Tagliabue had and how many results Finks had. But they basically said that Tagliabue was awarded to be the commissioner, and he was awarded something like commissioner of player personnel or something. And he said, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. I'm out of here. So he, you know, basically resigned, and he turned down the job, and that was that. So really, really hard autograph to find. And when you do find it, it's pretty damn expensive. And he passed away in 1994. So you would kind of think there would be more stuff of his around, but that's really not the case. So that is that. I hope y'all enjoyed watching that as much as I did making it. Normally, I can't stand to do like a YouTube or a Facebook Live video and then do another video on YouTube or something like that. Just looking at these cards, that was not the case here. I definitely loved making this video just like I did the YouTube Live or Facebook Live last night. So that is that. Adios. Be safe. Bye-bye. Toodles.